Okay, so we just did the canoe question or whatever. I don't know what video came on before this. This question is, and questions like this are probably the hardest thing in algebra. There is a step that's further, the quadratic formula and dealing with quadratic equations. It is the end of math on algebra side for the GED. You don't have to know it to pass the test. So we could work on it, sure, and I'll probably do a video on it someday, but you don't have to know it. There are other things that are easier to lock down to pass. So we have to recognize something about this bit of math without much of a hint. And I'm going to say it a couple times, there's nothing on the formula sheet to help us. So we have to memorize the steps. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally says you got to get rid of the parentheses first. Well, when you can't do anything inside the parentheses, 2x plus 6, you can't add those together because we don't know what x is. These are from different families. That's the x family, and this is just a number family. Normally, we'd just add those two things together and be fine to make dear Aunt Sally happy. So we have to, I'm gonna write in a simpler version of the problem because this number 2 right here makes it a little bit trickier. This is the more straightforward kind of question. So here are our steps. FOIL. And then I draw a little nose between the O and the I. And we're going to multiply all these parts. They're all going to multiply off each other. So first things is first. First are these two. X times x is x squared. Yep. So that's what that is. And if we, this is generally how these things look. It's written complex to simple to simplest. But anyway, we just did our first. Not too bad. Next is outside. Outside are these two. So x times 2, positive 2 is just Scotch tape. We just Scotch tape those two together and it becomes positive 2x. And we're done there. Then we do the inside ones. Positive 3 and x. Again, there's nothing to multiply. So we just Scotch tape them together because that's all we can do. And then we have the last, which is these two. 3 times 2 is 6, a nice positive 6. Then we got one more step to do. We got to get the X family together. We got to get them seated so we can get this wedding reception going. So we join those two together. 2 plus 3 is 5. And then it's the X family. And then everything else comes on down. And that would be done. So that's the classic normal, this is multiplying binomials through the FOIL method. And that would be that. Now, that's not what they asked us. When they throw that 2 in front of it, our math has to get a little bit more careful. But still, the steps are exactly the same. And you gotta love math, for at least for its consistency. So first is these two. Now, what do? You multiply what you can. So what do I multiply with that 2? Well, there's a ghost 1 there.
It's a ghost 1, yeah.
So 2 times 1 is just regular old 2. And x times x is x squared. So in math, you just do what you can. If there's numbers, they can multiply. If there's letters, they can multiply. So we just did our first step. So this is looking good for those two answers. We're not going to fall in love with them, but we glance over there and go, okay, I did one step, and if I was absolutely stuck on time, that's my 50-50. But again, they do halfway math sometimes and then put in fake answers. But if we were stuck, we'd choose one of those. Next, we do the outside ones. That's those two. And we do what we can. 2 times 8, positive 8, just regular old 8. 2 times 8 is 16. Positive 16. And then the x comes on down like luggage or a stray dog. Then we do the inside ones. Positive 6 times x is positive 6x. That's all it can be. And then last is this monster number. Multiply those two. And then we do our last little step where we get the x family together. 15 plus 6 is 22.
Okay.
X family. 48 comes on down. 2x squared comes on down. And this is the hardest math on the test. It's not on the formula sheet. There's lots of stuff in the formula sheet that doesn't help us all that much. this would have been nice. But again, we can do this if we can remember FOIL. So we got to come up with a trigger, or at least practice these enough times. So when we see those four things inside those binomial pairs, we go, okay, firsts, outsides, insides, lasts, join those two together, and we're in there. So what was it? D would be our right answer. So we will practice those.